All right, we will continue. I hope there are no other doubts. So let's get into the modeling aspect. So we have set up the projects. Now you will, can you, so we will start with the structural model for today's session. So as much as possible, we will try to do it. So the model would include the columns and beams and slab. And if possible, we will also finish with the shell or the roof, which is there on the top, as you are seeing in the image. So let's just go to the next slide. So this is what we are going to do it. That is the first part, that is creating columns. And we are going to refer, one is the column position by the CAD drawing, and also the PDF file that has been given for the height and the other information that is given to you. So these two information is going to give us the idea of how the column is going to be placed. I mean, it's just the reference, but you are free to do it. And if you are practicing, you can also try to do it on a different projects. If you have a CAD drawing, just try to use that as a reference and bring it from there. You can do it fresh also, but the idea here is that using a reference to build it first, and later you can start from fresh. So let me go back to the page. So right now I'm in the level 0. So let me just go to level -2. Just by double clicking here, it will open the level -2. You can confirm it by going to this page. So it will highlight it here. Before, you remember, it was on ground floor. Now, because we have created something different, it has become ground floor, level -2. So it will replicate the same name. This is how you confirm which level you are working on. And to start with, we need to bring the reference here. You can also do a copy and paste it and then work on it. But like I mentioned, we have something called trace tool that is going to make our life easier by focusing on specific elements instead of putting it into the same space, and then you're going to click on the element and might get distracted or something gets moved, the reference gets moved, and it might cause some issues in the modeling. So that's why we make use of the trace option. So all I'm doing is I'll go to where I want the reference. So that is a level -2, the story. And right click on the reference which I want to bring in, that is level -2 worksheet. And we go to show as trace reference, same like what we did. And you will be able to see that particular drawing visible here. And there are so many things right now. There is beam here, there is column, there is some annotation, there is grid lines and all these aspects. So let me just not worry about this and look only at the column. So even though you're seeing column with the footing and all these details, let's not worry about it. We will only focus on this aspect of the column, that is this rectangular size. Now, how to check the dimension? So there is something here called measure tool. So you also have a dimension tool, but dimension tool literally place the dimension in the drawing, but we just want to check what the dimension is. So we can make use of the measure tool here. You can just use the shortcut M, it will activate. Then you click on the first point and second point, it will give you the dimension. So you can see horizontally it is around 600 mm and vertically it is 300 mm. So that will give the idea of what the column size is. And I'm going to assume this is just one material and we are going to think that it is going to be a RCC column. So the first tool that we are going to use is the column tool. So before placing the column or doing anything, I would like you to understand a concept in Archicad that is very consistent across all the tools. So this workflow, you might see similar across all the other tools. And I mean, you can do it in that way. There are many other way of working in softwares also. This is something I would like you to start with. Later, when you explore the software further, you may be looking at a different workflow altogether, depending on how comfortable you are. So let me just click on it. You can see there is already a change in the interface. So the way that we work in Archicad is we select the tool, we set up the properties, then we place the column. You can also change the properties later, but this is one of the way we start. So you can just go click here. That is a symbol, that is a setting dialog. Otherwise, you can also use the shortcut Control plus T, or there is even an easier method where you just double click on the tool. So that will open the settings regarding the element. So this is the column settings dialog box. So there is a star here that's actually called favorite, which we will see it soon. So this is where you can set up certain properties and settings beforehand and keep it in the template. So in the Archicad template, there are a couple of favorites already, which we may not be using in this project at all. But yeah, this is something that we will see it soon. And these are the major settings for the columns. So that is the column setting itself. Then the segment settings, which we will see in the coming session on Thursday. And floor plan and section, as the term suggests, it is all related to the representation in the drawings. And you have structural analytical parameter, that's about the structural aspect of that particular element. And classification and property is all about the information that we are going to add. So this is going to be very similar, but it might be organized in different manner in different software. So let me start with here. There's a main column settings where you can set up the dimensions. So this is right now 300 by 300 and it is linked. So the blue color which is on the top, which you will see across Archicad, which is the standard of the default template or default workflow or work environment, where it will show you in blue color that it is highlighted. And just uncheck it. That means both are not going to be connected anymore. And this is going to be 600 mm. And you will see a change in the representation here. So this is how you identify if the properties has been changed or not. Next part, we have something called positioning. Again, like the word suggests, it's all about placing the element in the 3D space. You have two important things for the column, especially column is a vertical linear element. Even when we look at wall is also going to be a vertical element. So it will also have these two options. One is home story, another one is top link. Home story is about where you are placing the element. Top link is where you are linking the top part of the element. So for column and wall, you will see similar terminologies. So home story is right now level -2. And the top link, I can pick the same one or I can also pick something else. So if I look into the reference where I have the column schedule, I have already given here the ID of the column, which will also be there in your drawing. When you see the drawing, it's already matched. And it will tell you the bottom elevation to project 0. That is exactly this value here. So instead of me adding which level it is connected to and what is the offset value is, let's say we are placing a column and you have the ground floor here and let's say first floor here. So this particular dimension that you are going to see is the offset. So it can be a positive value, it can be a negative value. So here it will be a positive value that says probably like 200 mm above the reference line. And this can be like a, let's say, minus 300 mm below the reference line. So these are the same values that you will see here. Explore it, change it, see the changes in the 3D and elevations. You will get a better understanding of what these tools are doing. So on the other hand, instead of giving these two values, I can directly put the project 0, the reference. So here something like -2.0 or -4.5, whatever the value is. You can add directly here itself by matching the dimension. So I'm not going into that at this point. You can do the reference of this and check with it. Don't worry about the width and height. You can check the height to match it for this one. Or the value that will be represented here. But for now, let's not focus much on it. But when you are going to work, look into this number, identify which column it is, and look at the dimension by using the measure tool. Don't go for this 1200, that is for the coming session, and try to place a single column using these informations. So let me give it 0 so that it will place exactly from level -2 to all the way to level +1. And we are going to the next part. So here there is something called end cut and reference axis. In case your column is landing on the top or something, you can just rearrange this information. So for now, we are going everything with the standard ones without any changes. But I would encourage when you're placing a column for your training part or your practical part, make sure you explore all the tools that are there. If you feel you're confused, just do a right click and go to this option called what is this? It will take you to the cloud and give you a detailed explanation of what that particular tool will do. Now here, there is something called reference axis score, which is important with respect to placement of a column. So column has this 9 points of reference if you're taking a horizontal cross section. And we are going to place using the center point. So if you want to place the column using one of the end point, if that is what you know in the drawing, you can make sure you select that one and work. You can also give a rotation to the column, but right, let's just keep as it is for now. Segment, we will explore it in the coming session. That is these two options here. We are going for a single segment at this point because we are starting. Here you can select the shape of the column. We are going with the rectangle at this point. And the next one is very important, that is selecting a material. You can start with the generic material and later you can change it. But I suggest for the training aspect, we will just go for a reinforced concrete structure. So many of the material that are there in the template is already preset. So it will be easy for you to work with the typical material that you're going to use. This is an option where whether you want the column to be straight or you want it to be tapered, so you can make use of this option. There are also something for fixing the dimension or making it a flexible dimension. So right now we are going for a single segment, so we will not explore this, but in the coming session, we will see that further. So let me not go through this one right now, but something important, that is structural analytical parameter. I'm going to just change that to a load bearing so that it will be classified as a load bearing element here. You also have multiple options. So here, if I go to classification and properties, you can give it an ID. So this would be something interesting, IDing the element. So if your column has like C1, C2, or some kind of a numbering system, you can give it here the same number. And also a couple of other properties like whether it is a load bearing or non-load bearing, which is similar to what we saw here, but here it was detailed. Here it is just one information. Whether it is an exterior column or interior column, you can classify, and many other information that you can access it from here as well. And the most important thing is the classification itself. So in the language of BIM, we have something called classification where you are going to identify an element in terms of its probably the function, you can call it. One of the main reason you have a classification is because there are many software around and all of them uses their proprietary tool sets. So when you transfer the information from one software to another, you may not understand what exactly it is. Just a simple example is, let's say you are exporting from SketchUp to AutoCAD. It becomes lines and fills. I mean, fills I'm not sure, but it becomes lines. But the lines does not carry any information because those two are different type of softwares altogether. In BIM also, I mean, across the softwares, BIM softwares also it's the same case. To solve this issue, we make use of this option called classification. So when we work with the classification, even though you use a different tool, you can still tell that it is something else. And when you are going to transfer that file to the other software, in the properties of that particular element, it will tell you what exactly it is. So that is how information is passed between different softwares. So make sure to do a read into this particular topic of classification and IFC file format. It will give you a good amount of information on the open BIM concepts. All right, so for now, we will only explore this much. And let me just give OK. So that is kind of prepared our model what to do. Now I have these three columns, which are of same size and same location. I'm not focusing on the height right now, but I'm just going to click on the center point to place the column. So that is the first point. This would be the second one, and this would be the third one. Now I have a fourth column, and that fourth column is around 200 by 300 here. So I can just go back to the setting again. Only change I'm going to do is here it will become 200. And I'll give OK, and I'll click here, and that will place the column here. So I can turn on and turn off the reference to make sure I placed it in the right location. I don't have any columns here, so I'll just move to the next level, that is level -1. And I have to now activate the reference because it will still remember that level -2 is the reference that is been given. So you have to change that. So I'll just get to level -1, right click and show trace reference. Now it is changed. And you can see in the level -1, I can still see the column. So only reason is that the column I placed it that goes all the way to level 1. Because of that, you will see the column in all the floors because they are getting cut in the other floor levels. We activate the reference again. So we have a column here, and we will go to the settings and make sure it is 600 by 300. And it starts from level -1 and goes all the way to this level. We may have to re-edit these dimensions soon, but let me just place this. And this is going to be 200. So let me change that to 200. So you can see instead of me going to the main setting, I just did a scroll, and these are similar settings itself. And one of the property that I can access here is the cross-section size, where I changed it to 200. And I place it here. And I have a couple of other columns as well. And now you might be wondering, instead of me placing the column, why not copying? So you can do a copy, which is also okay. But one of the reason why we don't copy that much is all the information will be transferred, including the ID. So column ID might be very similar when you do the copy. But when you place a column, it will go in order. So it's up to you how you want to work. Later also we can change the column there, sorry, the ID system. But I would encourage place it like this so that it will be individual elements itself. So I think we are going for a 200 here, change it to 600, place it along these points. So that kind of placed our columns. I'm not looking at the heights at this point. So let me just click on 3D. And now you're going to see the columns are placed. So these columns are placed on the same floor. These are placed on a different level altogether. And this one is here. Now, what I would suggest you to do when you're working is, I have already given the ID. Make sure to cross-check how it is placed. Just to give the information, let me just select these, all of them. I just did a box selection around, so it selected them there. So that is C07, one of them. So that is here. And if you see the starting is -4. So if I go to its settings and if I give the height here to -4000, it will automatically give that minus value here. And when I go to 3D, you will see those are moved. So this is also one of the way of doing it. It wouldn't have worked if I had changed anything related to the width. The same property would have transferred. And one thing about Archicad is everything is one instance. It does not work like a component when it comes to these elements, but I'll show you regarding the transfer of elements, how we can do it also in the later session. So that's about the column placement. So anybody has any doubt, please do ask if you have any doubt. Otherwise, we will move to the next tool. Or did you understand so far? You can give a thumbs up or put it in the chat so that I know that you are there in the meeting. All right. So I believe you all understood. Yeah, two of you already given the thumbs up. Thank you for that. Thank you for the confirmation. All right. So far, I believe it is clear to you. So we will move to the next tool, that is the beam tool. Something I just want to continue that I have not taken, that is the one of the other important technique when we place a column. And these are actually called geometry method. So when I was placing the column, you might have noticed I just did a click and it placed the column there. But there are other method of placing a column, and they are called geometry method. So this terminology, you are going to see it across Archicad for almost all the tools. Might be smaller variations in the name, but I mean, that depends on the element that you're using. But for column, this is geometry method, and there are three methods mainly. Fourth one is also there, that is usually in a different case. But the first one is actually for placing a single point. So I clicked, column is placed. Second one is little interesting. That is, you are placing 2 points. First point is the starting of the column, and the second point is the top of the column. So if I'm working in plan, I'll click on first point. Then I can place the second point of the column. Let's say my column is sloping like this. So I have the column. So if I look at it in 3D, you will see the column slanted. And the last one, that is the rotated method, where I place the first point, then I can rotate and place how the column is going to be. So it might be something you might look at whether when the column is rotated or something like that. So you can approach it in this way as well. So these are called geometry method. You can always try to recreate these positions and details by making use of this. All right, so let me just delete it. Just go for this one itself so that that property will be remembered. Now let's move to the new one. That is, we have now level -2. I'll go back to level -2 and then activate the level -2 trace reference where we have the columns and beams are placed. Now, you might be wondering, okay, this is in dotted line, which height or what location it is placed on. if you have a section, it might be really easy for you to understand where exactly it is taken, right? So we will get to that point, but before that, we will just randomly place the beam and later we are going to correct this. You're also given, you will also be given one schedule for beam as well, where you can refer these heights. So these heights are going to be the height of the bottom elevation. So wherever the bottom part of the beam is, you might get the information directly from here. So you can refer that when you are doing the model. So let me close this, go to Archicad. Now here I have a beam and that is 300 by 450. There is also something that I did not tell you that is about visibility of these elements. So let me just go to level -2 and you can see right now there is column, there is beam, there is grid lines and all this aspect. Sometimes you don't want to see all of these and you just want to focus only on certain elements. Because we have brought in a CAD file and CAD file already comes with layers, we can now manipulate those information. All I have to do is just select. We can go to the settings dialog, that is Control T, in which one of the settings here is called size and appearance. In size and appearance, there is something called drawings on layers. So if I click on that, it will show you all the layers here. So if you want to just turn off the columns and probably grids and column annotation, now you will see the beams and the beam annotation itself. So like this, now you can filter. So let's say you have all the projects and everything is there. Now you can filter it in this way and you can work. And one advantage is you can snap to these points, even though these are not lines at this point in this particular drawing. So here also you will see the same. So now it is very simple for you to snap to those locations and work. Now, if you remember, the method is going to be the same, just like the column. Just double click on the tool and we are going to set up the properties. So it's around 300 by 450. Yes. So this is 300 and this is going to be 450. So that will set up the time. Oh, sorry, my mistake. It should be the other way. So always have a look at how the representation is given here. That will give you the idea. Also, if you keep the cursor there on the top, it will give you a content written there. So check that as well. Here it is asking which floor it is connected to. So here it is a dotted line. So I'm assuming this particular thing will be on the top. So I'm just connecting to the level -1 directly. I'm not giving an offset value. I'm linking directly to that layer. If I link it to, let's say, level -2 and give an offset value, it will remember those properties. So at any point, if I change the floor height, the beam will still remember the offset value and then just stay there. It will not move along with the upper floor. So ideal case is minimal offset value and connect it very close to the floor that you are going to make it in. So that is going to be level -1. And a couple of other things also, if you want a slanted column, you can access here. And if you want to make it an arc kind of a thing, that you can give it here. Something important, like I mentioned for column, that is a reference axis. So I'm going to use the top mid of this particular beam. This is a cross section of the beam. So top mid is what I'm going to use because it's easy for me to draft here as well. Similar way in segment, I can set up the shape and also I can set up the material. So I'm going to use reinforced concrete structural. Same material as column. So main reason is that you will see that in practice soon, but just giving you a heads up, if they're of same material, they'll join together in 3D. All right, so last one, that is a structural analytical parameter. I'm going to give it as load bearing. And if you want, you can also explore the classification properties and give it an ID system. Now, like I mentioned, there is geometry method here as well. So there are multiple methods. So the first method is the single method or single segment method, where 1 point and 2 point will construct the beam. Here also, I'm going to do the same thing. 1 point and 2 point will construct the beam there. Now here, I have to kind of continue. So let me just continue like this. So instead of single segment, I'll go right now for chain method. So when I use chain method, now I can just keep clicking and it continues. And when I'm done, I click on the same point again and it stops. I'll do from here, same method, second point, third point, third point. And you can see I made a mistake. So when you make a mistake in the click and you want to go back to the last point, don't do Control Z, go for backspace on the keyboard. So keep a note of that. Backspace will remove the last clicked point Control Z will remove all the activity. So make sure you do the right one. Click on the last point again to stop it. Now we have one more that is from here to here. I'll use a single segment because I have a different beam here, and that is 0.2 by 0.45. So let me change that here itself, 0.2. Oh, sorry, 200, my mistake again, and place it here to stop. If I turn off the trace, you can see they're already in dotted line. They have joined in these locations with their center lines, so you can have a look. And also make sure if the beams needs to be separated, make sure they are different segments instead of placing one single beam. Especially when it comes to taking quantities, you might be addressing these beams separately. I mean, it's all up to you how you do it in your office. Do it in that manner. If I want to make sure do certain activities on different beams in different format altogether, make sure they are different element itself. Exactly how you model it is exactly how you're going to get the information. Let me look at it in 3D, and this is what we have beams. Now let me go to level -1, and I will activate the level -1 trace option. And now I'm going to just speed up the process. I'll take the beam tool, go to the settings, and make sure in the beam settings I have everything is done. So it's connected to level 0, which is good, top link, and all the other things are just like what I did in the last setting. So it will remember the previous settings. So in this, I have a segment option where 450 by 300, where I'm going to place this individually. I had a couple of other beams. I have left it out for now. Later we will address it. So I'm not going to take much time on this. This is going to be a repetitive task. So you may try to practice these ones. So for the next session, I will make sure that these ones are completed. Now I have a problem. So let's find some problems and start solving it. I mean, I could hide the columns and work, but I did not hide for this particular drawing. Now, if you see here, I have the column coming, but I don't know where exactly it is starting. I mean, I could do from here also, no issues, but sometimes we may need the point to be seen. But I know the logic that this particular center line ends to this point, which will give me exactly where the center point is to start. So there is something interesting thing in Archicad. It's called guidelines. So one of the guidelines that you can use it is here on the side, which you can drag and place it exactly where. So it will snap to that point. Then from there you can do the drafting. So this is one of the method where you use the guideline. So don't use Control Z or Control Shift Z for undo and redo. This will not get affected. This is independent of those. They are not in the model. They are just a reference. So I just clicked on it, dragged, place it. And if you want to remove it, I hold the cursor on the top. It will show you a symbol like this. Click and drag, place it to the side, and it will be gone. So that was one of the method where you make use of the guideline. There is also something interesting, that is if you keep the cursor on top of, let's say, a line. I'm just going to keep the cursor on the top of this. You can see there is a blue line added. This is also another guideline that you can make use of it. Now I know exactly where it is ending, so I can start from here and I can do it. Because I did a line, it is like this. What if it was a point? It would have been completely different. So if I hold here on the point, it will create a circle. Now from that circle, I get a straight line here, I get a straight line here, I also get a line in 45 degree. So there are many methods in which you can create these guides. If I want to find the center of these 2 points, I can keep the cursor here, it will create a circle. I keep my cursor here, it will create a circle there. And when I move to the center, I will find the center point in this. So you can see it is also going to be snapped to that point as well. So like this, you can find the center points. It's one of the methods that we usually use it. Here we have point 2. So I'm not going to do further into the beams, but I hope you understood how the beams are done. The method is simple. First, you go to the settings, make sure everything is done. By double clicking it or from the settings dialog or Control T will take you to the place. Make sure all the settings are done first. Then you start the drafting. explore this geometry method, be it straight line, chain method, rectangular method. And also as an add-on, if you see there would be an arrow mark next to the tool. If you see that, that means if you long press on it, you will get even more options to work with. So you can see I can also draft the beams in circular format by using this method. There is also something additional. If you use a single segment, it's just 1 point and 1 point and you're done. But when you use a chain method, you will get this pet palette. And in pet palette, you have different drafting method. So this was a geometry method. This is like a drafting method, where first one is a straight method. Second one is going to be arc tangential to previous. So it will use the last line as a tangent, and then you can create a circle. The next one is you are going to define how the tangent is, then you are going to place the curve. And then you have a 3 point arc where it will consider the first point as the last click point. Second point and third point will define the arc. And then the last click that you're going to do will define the arc radius or the length of that particular arc. Last one is the center option. So next click is going to be considered as the center of the circle, and then you can draft that as well. So when I'm done, click on the last point. So you can create interesting shapes here. If you have a reference, I encourage you start using the 3 point arc. That is like the easiest one to draft it. If you have the tangent, then you can go for it. So I encourage you to practice this option along with the line tool, polyline tool as well, not just the wall tool or beam tool for drafting. So you can have a look. So this is what we have created. We created columns. We also created beams here. And yeah, we are moving to the next tool. So next is going to be slab. This would be the last but one tool that we are going to look at. Let me just stay on level -1 and make sure the level -1 reference itself is active. And now I'll go to the level -1 reference because we have so many things here. No, but I want to focus only on the slab. So now I guess you already know the method. By clicking on it, go to the settings, that is Control T, or going from here, size and appearance, drawings on layers, and remove what all is not required. So I don't need this, I don't need the grid. I just need only the slab. I just give OK. Now you will see there are two slabs in this level. So this is one of the method that we do it. And they're also visible here. But it's not visible enough for me to understand. Now, how do I solve this issue? So trace tool, even though it has an option to turn on and turn off, there are a couple of other interesting settings also inside. If you just click on the arrow mark right next to that, you will see. So this is for selecting which reference you want, whether you want to activate the reference or switch the reference with the active, or you want to delete the reference, rotate the reference, reset it, temporarily displace. There are many options available for you. And all these options are available in the last one that is called trace and reference, and it's a palette, which is like this, which you can drag, move it somewhere, and place it wherever you feel comfortable. So let's say I'm placing it here. Now, what this does is all the quick options are here. So this is to turn on and turn off. This is to browse. And this is to control the opacity of the particular trace. And this is to control the color of the trace. Now, what I'm doing is making sure my trace is in red color. And active is the model that we are working on. So if you want to reduce, I can do that. Or you can also bring the reference front by clicking on this particular button. So I can now clearly see where my slab is placed. So this is one of the method that you can use it for using a CAD reference and working on the top of this. So the method is going to be same. Again, double click on the slab tool, which will take you to the settings. Only for the first session, we will be using the basic structure. From the second session, I'll talk about what a composite is and how we are going to work with. So in the geometry and positioning, when you're starting with the learning of Archicad, go for a basic structure. In basic structure, you get to edit the thickness of the slab. So we'll give it this one. Sorry, anybody has any doubt? Okay. All right. So Yeah, so here we are going to use 150 mm and this is the offset value. So similar to what we saw for the column, let's say this is the reference line that you have. And let me just change the color to this. And let's say I want to place a slab. So when you place a slab, you have a couple of options. One, you can make use of the top of the slab as a reference. That is here. Another option, you can make use of the bottom of the slab as a reference. So that is here. These two settings are exactly here. That is called reference plane. You can either choose the top surface or bottom surface. I usually use top surface when this is like a structural slab. And when it is like a finish, I might go for the bottom of the slab. So this is something that you can use it to link it to the same level in this way. Now, offset value is exactly how you saw before. If there is an offset and then you are placing the slab, that particular value can be added here. So start focusing on these symbols and representations. They are just like a dimensioning that we usually do it in architecture drawings. So I'm not going to give any dimensions here for now. And the only thing is I'll just change the material to reinforced concrete structure. So you can see the same representation. So this is building material. We will get into it soon, all the details regarding the same. So I'll give OK. I don't think I'll go for anything other than the structural parameter. That is load bearing. Give it OK. Now I need to draft it. So similar things, repetition again, geometry method. How do you want to draft it? Either go for polygonal method or go for rectangular method or rotated rectangular method. If it is a rectangular method, let me just take it from here. First point, second point, it will place a slab here. So this is the slab. You can see they're already merged to the beam because of their of same material. And that's here. And next one is little complex. So I'm going to do it in a different way where I'll do the rectangle first. And now I'm going to add this particular segment. So slab tool gives you a freedom of adding something to the existing one. I mean, not just slab tool, many other tools also, especially the planar elements like slab or mesh or let's say morph mostly. So you can click on one of the corner points. Now you can see our pet palette is very different from how we saw for the columns or the beams. So in this, you can see there is an option called move node. So node is the corner point what we clicked. So you can move it and reshape it like this. Otherwise, you can use the fillet option if you want to fillet these edges, or use the offset all edges option where you can make it bigger like this, or offset one edge where you want to extend only one edge at some point. Or you can also make use of something called add to polygon. So if I use add to polygon, all I have to do is select a geometry method and then draft how you want it to be. So let's say I'm taking all the way till the end and I'm just doing some corrections to the model. So I'm just aligning to the beam here. So it's coming all the way till the end. So that's how you can add something to it. We will look at the removal part in the next floor. So that is what two slabs here. And at any point, let's say this slab is supposed to be 50 mm below or 150 mm below. So you can, instead of going to the settings right here, you can just give the minus offset value, minus 150. Now you will see that the slab will be moved down. So I think it should be 300. So let's try with 300 so that the base will be referred. Yeah. So now they are aligned below. So sometimes we may have to do this kind of work. So all the properties are right there and the 3D will give you the idea of how it is functioning at this point. So let me just go to level 0. So I just do a double click on level 0, make sure level 0 is active here as well, trace option. And you have a lot of things here. So we have to filter it. So go here, right click, drawing selection settings, drawings on layers, and turn off all the unnecessary elements. So I don't need roof, I don't need grid, just need slab. So I can also see there is an overlap. We will consider that also. Again, I'll get back to my slab tool, make sure settings are correct. I'll use the polygon option this time, and then I'm going to draft these details manually. It's actually going to here, coming back all the way here and done here. So that creates a slab. Next one, I'm going to do a subtraction where I'm going to draft the whole slab. and I'm going to cut it out. It's the same method. Click on one of the corner point, look into the pet palette and see which tool is going to help you. And here it is called subtract. So I can select that, click the rectangle or whatever the shape is using the right geometry method, and that will remove that segment from there. So you have addition, you have subtraction, and you can make use of those tools here. So actually this is going to be probably 150 mm above, that we will understand once we place the section. Yeah, now your work would be to look at the upper floor also, make sure you're completed with the columns and beams and the slab so that it will be completed. Now, we also brought in a section, so that was here. Now this is section F4, sorry, X4 if I'm not wrong. Now I need to place a section here to verify whether whatever I have done is correct or not. Now we are going to learn how to do a section. So section tool again, just do a double click. Settings will appear. We will focus only on very simple amount of information, that is reference ID. I'll give it as X4. Whatever name you can give it. Other things you don't need to worry much, but it is default settings will do the job. That is creating a new section, and then it will be a viewport created. You can also link to an existing one if you want to, but we are going to create something new. And it is going to be auto rebuild model, means what whenever you do any change, the section has to update automatically. And something very important here, that is whether you want a infinite range of elevation. It's like you can create either a section, a cut section, or a sectional elevation. So if you go for zero depth, it will create a section only. If you go for infinite, it will be a sectional elevation. So let me just go for zero depth. I'm not going in depth of the other informations, but you can just have a look. Model appearance is something we will see it later, but the marker is about placement of the marker, the type of marker, the text details, the type of symbols that you're using for the marker, and all this information here. Placing a section, I need to place a section, but I don't have a reference. But you remember we used a key plan here. I'll use show as trace reference, and then I can now see the export section. So how we do the section, first point, second point, then it will give you an arrow key asking which side to look at. So it is towards the right side because that is how the section is drawn here. Now you will also see a section created on the right side. You can see a new one added. Before this arrow mark was not there. Now if I double click, it will open the section, and this is what you're going to see. So this particular line here will give you a little bit of freedom of stretching it and seeing it further. But yeah, many of the sections are right there in the property also. Now this is what we have. We have to check whether it is correct. So I'm going to approach it in a little interesting way, that is cross-referencing these details. I'll go to my section that is here. Now, what we have done so far is we went to a proper model element like floor plans, and we used a worksheet as a reference. So this case, we are going to use the model as a reference and work in a worksheet. So I'm in worksheet, right click on the section that is created and use show as trace reference, and it will show you where exactly it is taken. Now I can do a little bit of adjustment and make sure I place these elements into the right location. So I'll use this particular point and place it here and cross check whether the beams are placed in the correct way, slab whether it is correct or not. You can see there are some variations in the thickness which you need to address. And here you can also see the slab is actually down. So the first step what I did right now, I use the existing section with the reference so that I will know whether the section is placed in the right location. Now I'll go back to the section. Now I'm going to do a reverse, just to make sure the elements that are correct placed are correct or not. So that is going to the section, right click on the trace option that is here, and you can now see this one. I'll reduce the opacity so you will know exactly what is happening. You can see this slab needs to go up. So you can move it up, and it actually needs to extend this way. So that is actually a setting in the plan. So let me just click one of the edge here. And in the bed palette, I'll use offset one edge because we need to move only this one to this area. Getting back to the section, it will show the update. So this is how we cross verify this. There is one beam missing here, which we have not drafted, couple of other beams here, which we have not drafted. But this is the way that you are going to cross reference whether what we have placed is correct or not. So we have this. So for the coming session, your work would be to make sure all these sections are placed, cross-verify in both the direction. All these sections are placed into the worksheet and then match it both the ways. Like you use the reference with the existing section and do the other way finally to confirm. Readjust the slab thickness, readjust the positions of these elements, adjust the height of the column and all these details to finalize the correct structure. Don't worry about these segments, but how much ever you can, try to do it. Practice as much as possible with all this information. Read through it by just doing a right click. Go to what is this? It will give you a detailed information in the browser, what this tool is doing, and every single explanation will be available here. So, yeah. So, both the ways, there is a homework as well, along with working on the trial file. So you can select a file by yourself, a project, something actually done would be ideal because if a project is already over, you may know almost all the details. So it becomes easy for you to model it. If it is something new, you may be doing a lot of changes in the design and it might consume a lot of time of yours. So I would encourage you till the training is get over, select something that is already done, remodel or work on that particular drawing and create the model with whatever we have done. So in the coming session, we will look at the roof, which is going to be something like this. And we will start creating these segments that are segmented columns. And we will start with the architectural layer in the next